everyone, Sandy Wilkin here back. Today I have worked on and finished my altered book. I bought this old book from one of the thrift stores, Goodwill or someplace, and it's one of those Reader's Digest books. And I didn't have to do too much of the cover because a lot of those Reader's Digest books are just gorgeous the way they are, except I did put some gold duct tape to reinforce the spine, and I put a piece of jewelry up here, which was an old brooch, and I put some of my gold leaf trim I have, and I used some really pretty floral lace that I had. And this journal I entitled "You're So Vintage" because I found and I used this lace and this really old vintage belt buckle for my closure. And I just unwrapped that. And here is the front where it says, "You're So Vintage." I got this out of a magazine. I cut it out. I'm always cutting out anything like this that have sayings that I think I can use at some point or another. I used an old frame that was metal and a couple of flowers that were cut out of some lace that I had. And then it ended up being kind of alligator mouth, because I don't care what anybody does when they tear out pages in these books. You'd think you've torn out enough so that you won't have an alligator mouth. But by the time you put all the journaling cards, the tags, and the ephemera, and pockets and everything, you will have an alligator mouth. I don't care. And I did tear out a lot of pages in this book. And you can go online and look up altered books made into junk journals, altered book junk journals. And there's lots of videos on them to tell you how to tear your pages out and so on and so forth. Now, I think Natasha at Treasure Books has a wonderful video on how to make the pockets and stuff in these. So I've used a lot of her ideas in this to make my pockets. Okay, so without further ado, let's get inside this chunky vintage eclectic style journal. So if we open it up, I have put some kind of braided trim on the inside. And since this was already a beautiful green cover in there that went with the book, I just left that. But then I put this envelope on here that has a definition of vintage. I thought that was perfect to begin this book. And then there's a tag that I made out of some paper that, well, you know, your craft paper that you buy, was a bunch of bingo things. So I thought that, and put some lace on for the tie. So I thought that was good. So I put this back down in that little envelope. And that's how I started that out. And then on the first page, I did put this paper on. It was green like this, but I thought, oh, I need a little contrast. So I made a corner pocket out of some other beautiful old vintage looking craft paper. And then I found this cutout of an old, looks like a locket. An old-fashioned locket, so I glued that on. I put some lace on this pocket, and then I made a mason jar cutout and put some little braided rope trim, and then stamped my "This Book Belongs To," and you can also journal on that. Excuse me. Next page is a journaling page. I always use my stamp that says "The Story Begins," and I had an old book that I had bought at a thrift store. And all the way through here, you'll see that I've used these little hands and pens and typewriters to illustrate that this is a journaling page. And I found those in an old address book. It was a really neat address book. And at the top of each page was these really cute black and white little indicators of somebody writing or using the telephone or something there. Okay, the next page is another corner pocket going this way with some of my real pretty lace trim again. And I used this really neat, more craft paper. It looks like newspaper, kind of shiny. And then here's a tag that is made by a lady that has a booth at the the American Vintage Warehouse in Chillicothe, and she's an artist, and she makes a lot of these beautiful tags, and I have bought a lot of them from her. And it looks to me like she's used some old stamps and some of Tim Holtz's cutout people. And then, of course, she just embellishes everything. And she really sells these, I think, cheap, like 10 of them in a package for $2 or $1 or so. It's wonderful. So I've just about bought all the tags she makes. So that fits in that pocket. And then here is a fabric flip. This was some old carpet, or samples of, I think, draperies or something, or upholstery things. And then this was a printout of a postcard, and I thought that would be good for journaling in too. And then I put one of these little things. I think these are stickers you can buy, but they really feel like real lace. And then here is a corner pocket at the top where actually I just tore one page of the book, left a little bit of it there, glued this on in this way. Then this is the second page in the book, covered it with this paper, and made this nice top pocket, and added a little bit of vintage lace up here for a little tab. And then this is an old postcard. It says, "All aboard for the land of Nod." And it's an old postcard. I don't know how old it is, but it's Rock Island, whatever that is. So it's these little children sleeping. You could journal on the back of that postcard. All right, the next page is another journaling spot with a little typewriter up there. The next page is, again, I folded over one book page, and then I folded over another book page, and then this was the third page in the book that made so I could have pockets. So I have this pocket here, and it has a little postcard, St. Augustine, Florida. Now, a lot of my ephemera in here is original, so that means it really is the real stuff. Then other things are printouts or maybe from Tim Holtz collections. I'll let you know about those. So in this first pocket, I have an old letter, 1892, but it's just the old envelope. I went to a garage sale, I can't remember, or a flea market, and bought a whole bunch of these, just empty envelopes, but they had the old stamp, and it was made out to this Monsieur Joseph Wilder, and all of them are Joseph Wilder, a lot of them. And so that goes in that first pocket. And then the second pocket, I have an old postcard, and this has got a poodle on it. My friend Saxon will love that because I'm going to make her a journal about poodles, and I'm going to have one of these cards in it and all kinds of other ephemera about poodles. Always in the market for news. So this is probably a 1950s or so, or 40s, little postcards. That's an original ephemera. Okay, now what I did on this page was I did some collaging, but I also put stuff on the back of this page or underneath it so that it sticks out. And they're calling those raggeties. So if you want to find out how to do raggeties, there's all kinds of videos on those too. And you leave stuff sticking out the edge and you collage, and it's kind of cool. So on the next page, I think the Paper Outpost has got a video on raggeties, and there's other ones on. All you have to do is type in raggeties for junk journals, and you'll come up with some. But I wanted to do this in this journal because it's so vintage looking. And then this was some paper that was already collaged, and so it made a perfect background for this page here. And I didn't put anything on that because I really liked the way that looked. And you can see the stuff sticking out underneath, how cool it looks. Here's another page for journaling. Waterman's Ideal Fountain Pens, advertising that. Now this is what you call a snippet roll. What I did was I took some old ledger paper, inked it up, folded that over so that makes a fold out, and then I just took a strip of paper or book page or anything you want, and you start just gluing stuff on there. And it makes a great border. And some people make big rolls of these and sew them and even make them all out of material. I got a few pieces of material and lace in here, but mostly this was stuff that I'd found. Here says flea market fans on there and trash to treasure. And here's an old 3-cent sales tax thing. So, and then what I did was I did that on the back too, on this side. I collaged all that, made that into a snippet, piece of a snippet roll on there. Then here's some more books, and this could be all for journaling too. All right, the next page is, again, I took one page, folded it under, and here's the second page of the book. Cover all of that, and cover this the way you want to. I left a little of the book page showing, and then that made a pocket under here. So here, this is not original ephemera. This is one I cut out of a printable. But I made it into a journaling tag. And here's another one of those cards, just a line. And this one is original ephemera here. Authentic, they call it. And then here's a pocket at the top here. Made a pocket at the top. So this is one of the Tim Holtz ephemera packets, unclaimed baggage tag. It's supposed to be representing an old one. Okay, then the next page is, again, make a note. I think I cut these out of an old magazine one time. I'm always cutting things out of magazines and putting them in envelopes and stuff so that I can use them later on if I want to. It says make a note. And there's another hand. Okay, now this pocket is 1, 2, 3. So again, here's one page that I just ripped up. Here's the second page that I ripped up and behind it. And here's the third one I made a little higher. And here's the fourth book page. So you cover all of those and glue them on the sides, and that makes these pockets. So here's an original picture of a lady in her high heels out walking by this tree. I don't know who she is or anything, but it says that 1936 birthday number 42. All right, so that we're going to put that there. And then here is some of my craft paper that I just folded and made a little place to journal, like a journaling card in a way, sort of a card tag. And then this is an old original piece, Acker, something Choice Wines or something. I think that's an old place in Broadway, New York. It doesn't give a date on that, but it's kind of cool. And that's original ephemera. Okay, the next page is a glassine bag that's shaped like a map. And this is some paper that looks like a map that I had gotten from probably some of my paper that I've bought at Hobby Lobby or something, craft paper. And here's inside that glassine bag is a beautiful old postcard. This is original, and it doesn't have a date on it either, but let's see, that's fairly old. And then this is one of those tags that was made by, right offhand, I can't think of her name. That's terrible. But right now, that's some more of those tags that I bought from the lady that has the booth in Chillicothe, Ohio. So there we go. I mentioned her name before in one of my other videos, but right now my mind is blank. Okay, here's another page, and here's some more of that beautiful flowered lace I used on this one. Another journaling page. This one's Esther Brooks steel fountain pen heads. So see, that was all in that one book, an old address book, and I just thought these were so cool. Okay, and then here's a typewriter, Hammond typewriter. Again, this is ledger paper that you can use for journaling. I think in your journals, when you write in these, it makes it so cool because it's on this really cool vintage paper. All right, the next page is another pocket that's two pockets. I tore this one page down and put construction paper or craft paper. Then I tore the next page in the book that way and left it a little higher. And then this was the third page. And I used an old almanac, 1971 Farmer's Almanac, I think, page for that. And some music paper and this paper and a sticker. And then in the first pocket is a piece of old stationery. I bought this at a thrift store, and it had envelopes and stationery with these old-fashioned shoes on it. And I've been wanting to use it, and I hadn't used any of it yet because I've been thinking I want to make a Victorian ladies journal. And I thought, oh man, those old high heels and stuff and old shoes will be great in that. And then the next pocket, I had an old letter, 1898. An old letter. That'd be fun to read. Whoever gets this journal will have a fun time reading some of these old letters, if you can read that beautiful penmanship. And then an old photo. I don't know who this guy is. Maybe he's the one that wrote the letter, or maybe it was written to him. Who knows? And it was in Steubenville, Ohio. David W. Dormant or something like that. So that was from a photo studio there in Steubenville. And then this is a little vintage wedding invitation. Isn't it cute? Or wedding gift. Wedding gift. It has a little bow on it. And wishing you the best of luck and happiness. Look at how those old cards were. I just love those old vintage cards and stuff. All right, the next page is another. This one is the fountain pen at the top. More journaling. Here is a card that I had bought in a thrift store. And it had Big Ben and this card. And I loved it. It just looks real antique-y, looking like a postcard. Then you can open that card up, and inside the card, I made one of those little tearaway notebooks. And if you watch the Paper Outpost, she's always making these little tearaway notebooks. And then that says journal on it. I thought that was cool. And then on this side, I made a paper clip. I can get it off of there now. This paper clip says Genuine Junker, and it's got a bunch of other things collaged on it. And on the other side, it's got Junk, Drunk, and Vintage. But anyway, I made that into a altered paper clip to hold this old envelope on. And this is, again, original ephemera. Chief Medical Director, Buffalo, New York. Invalids Hotel and Surgical Institute. And inside that, I put another one of those old vintage postcards, just to let you know what's cooking. Somebody's cooking there. So I'll put that back in there. There's places to journal all over the place. And of course, that's another page to journal on. So this was over top of that. Put it in there. And inside this card, again. And then I put my little paper clip on there to hold it on. So that makes a real cute little embellishment in your journals too, to make these altered paper clips. It's a lot of fun. Okay, then here's another journaling page. Dixon's American Graphite Pencil. Make a note. And then this is another pocket. And like I said, if you watch Natasha on Treasure Books, go to her video. She will show you how to make all these cool pockets, and she's even got cooler ones than I've got. But anyway, here's 3 of them again. One page cut down, second page cut down of the book and covered, and then this is the 3rd page. So if you glue that together, that will make your pocket. And here's an old bingo card in the first one. You can journal on the back of that if you want to. Makes nice ephemera. Here's another one of the tags. It says, cherish yesterday, live for today, dream. I love that one. That's very, very ornate and pretty. And that sticks out the top. And then here's a magazine picture I found. I cut a lot of stuff out of magazines and make it into a journal card. So that can go down in there. And the next page is an old 1971 almanac. And so I just put the cover on here, and I just loved it the way it was, so I didn't put anything on that page. Here's another journaling page with a little old lace tab, vintage lace tab with a pencil sharpener. And there's another place to journal. This has an old postcard thing there, postage thing. Then these are some more of those old letters I found. So I had a thing here that I put one letter this way and made it into a pocket. And I've got judge me by the people I avoid. And then that went in this one. And then on this side was another one. And then this is the tag I put in it. I thought that was cool too. And those are all those tags from the lady in Chillicothe at the Vintage Warehouse, or the American Vintage Warehouse, if she still has her booth over there. I haven't been over there in a while. Okay, well, anyway, here is another. This is an envelope fold out where I just glued the envelope in there, or the flap of the envelope, and you glue it under your paper, and it makes a fold, or a, pull out, or cut it, fold out. And I put a Tim Holtz little paper doll and some suitcase stickers that you buy at the Dollar Tree, these puffy ones. I just love them. And inside that envelope, I think this is Tim Holtz tag. It's a old hardware tag, and there might be something else in there. Oh yeah, this is an old, like, looks like a library card, but these are all Tim Holtz's packet of ephemera, and they're not original. They're just copies. And then I love that old key page, so I left that in there like that. And then on this side is another one of these things. Or that his first name is Rhonda. I just can't think right offhand her second name, or her last name. But here's another one of her little tags that she makes, and she puts strings in these, and you can use these as gift tags. And look at that little tiny metal key on there. I just thought that was darling. So I put that in. There's another one of those old. This time is 1941 from Bremen, Ohio. And inside that, I put in let's see, what did I have in there? Oh, this is what I had in there. I had this tag. Part of it went down in there, and then part of it went here. And that was all on that envelope fold out. Okay, so the next page, again, is journaling. And then here is another one of my raggeties. This whole page is collaged with things sticking out from underneath the papers, raggedy. And I used a guest check and folded it up and made a little pocket there on this raggedy page, and put these small things in. Good for one drink, staples. And then here's some more. All of this is not original ephemera. I think this is again from Tim Holtz. And that's not original either. I don't know about that. I can't remember. But anyway, the next page is a little notebook called Notes, and I just left that little daisy on there. I think this has a couple. Mine only just have one page in that page to, again, journal on. And then this is another one of the things I made in the book. Look at all the ephemera I have in that, and all the pockets in that. And that one was one page this way fold and cut, and the second page cut that way, and then this is the third page, and they're all covered with different kinds of craft paper. And then this one is a pocket here covered across this way. So look how many pockets that makes. 1, 2, 3 pockets out of that. And then this is one of the stickers from the Dollar Tree, because that said Voyage, so I thought, oh, that's kind of cool with those binoculars. So in the top pocket, this is an original piece of ephemera. It's an old notebook, but it doesn't say it's from Fire Insurance, of Connecticut Fire Insurance. It's a little notebook, and I don't think it gives the date in there. But look at these little pages. Aren't they cute? You could journal in that if you wanted to, but I just love this old ephemera. And that goes in that pocket. And then here's a tag, another one of Rhonda's tags, baby girl, isn't that sweet? And that one goes there, and that one. And I used a little rope up there for that. And then this is another Rhonda little tiny gift tag with a little tiny butterfly. And that's really cute. So I put that one in there. And then this is one of the Tim Holtz's tickets that you buy a pack of them. And put that there. Now this page is a kind of like a botanical looking thing. But I liked it because I cut it out of a magazine, and somebody had already made this. And it was just a picture in a magazine, and I added a butterfly to it. But it's got old music and like it's been somebody's picture of their journal maybe. Then I put the envelope underneath here and made that a fold out. And this is one of those envelopes that I had that somebody has. It's old paper that they remade paper, and it's got like pieces of plants in it and petals of flowers. And then I just added some stamping and a couple little, here's a little calling card, but I don't think this one's original. But this is original. This is Mrs. Wilder, or this real tiny little envelope, old. That is original. This is not original. And this is an original letter. This one is. I love this stuff. But it doesn't have a date on it, but it is in beautiful penmanship. Probably came out of one of those envelopes from the Wilders, I'd say. So all that goes back in this little envelope fold out, and all back in there. cool stuff to play around with. And then that closes up, and we have another journaling page. And then on this one, again, I've used three pages in the book, and this one was cut down and put this kind of paper on this one, this one, and this was an old album, a stamp album that had pictures of stamps, and I added a few older stamps onto this part. I thought that looked cool. And so in that was a card. I think this might have been one that Rhonda made, and she put stickles on that and some gold and everything. So I made a little journaling card out of that. And then this was something I cut out. I think this was already printable. And it was a little boy, it looks like a policeman. And I made, that could be a journaling card or just ephemera. It's tucked in there. Here's another journaling page with a little hand again. Now these pages I cut out of another old journal. So that's one thing you can do. You can buy old journals and use the pages, the writing pages out of them in other journals. Here's some more paper. Now this was 2 pages again that are back to back, and you glue them on the edges. You put the paper on each side of the 2 pages. Then when you glue the edges together, you have a big pocket here. So this made a big pocket in here to put anything you want, photos or whatever. Here's a original ephemera card. I think it was doing ivory tooth polish was the advertising for that. And on the back, it says all these other different agencies from Dayton, Ohio. And it doesn't give a date, but that is original. But this is one of her Rhonda's tags, I believe. She believed she could, so she did. There's a lady on her bicycle, riding a bicycle. I just love that. So those go in here, in this big pocket. And again, anybody who gets this journal can, if they don't like all this ephemera and you think it makes the book too thick, take some of it out. And put your own ephemera in there. Put your photographs in there or your other things. Okay, then this page is an envelope that's a fold out, fold down. Another one of those little tags with key on it. And you can use that as you wish. Probably, maybe even put it on somebody's gift. But anyway, this envelope has some magazine pictures I cut out, some other little ephemera. I did some stamping on it, and then just put this underneath, this flap underneath here to make this a fold down. So in one thing, I've got another one of those little cards that you could use for journaling or for a gift. That's in that pocket, envelope pocket. And then in this one, I think it's a piece of, again, Tim Holtz's books, boots and shoes thing. And there's some more stamping and some more decorating. Again, that goes back up like that, and this comes down here, and I tried to make that so kind of stuck together a little bit there. Okay, then here's another journaling page. Make a note. A little journaling page with a pencil this time. And then this one is, again, I put lots of little ephemera in here, just tiny pieces of ephemera. But I had some old wrapping paper I found, and it was gold wrapping paper with these old automobiles on it. These old vintage automobiles, and I just love the shine to that. So again, there's one page in the back, and there's one page here, and I just folded that corner in and that corner up of that page, and then I covered everything, and it made all these different pockets, and then I covered this back piece. And so here was another one of those cards between my pressing duties. She's ironing there. So I stuck that one in there. Oh, I think I had something else in there too. It's a little thing right there. Oh yeah, a little old-fashioned calling card. 1907 and 1908. That's an original piece of ephemera. Oh, something else in there. See how that slides through? Kind of made a belly band effect. And then on each one of these, you could put something different. Like this is, again, Tim Holtz. And there's that calling card again. That could get right there again. And then this was not original. I think that was some other ones I bought, but they have been reproduced. some kind of a little tiny calling card, sort of. Maybe that should go up here. These little ones, I think, go better in these pockets. Again, Tim Holtz. Tim Holtz reproductions, but fun. Small things to have. And then that one can go right there again. Oh, yeah, and here was another little 5-cent thing. Again, that was Tim Holtz. Okay, the next page is journaling again with some pens, Schaefer pens. And this was a gold bag that I had, envelope bags. I loved them. I've used them in several journals. And then I used some different lace trim here and some pretty craft paper. And then this was a cutout, this statue in gold. I loved it. And I put that on there, and then this flips up inside the envelope. I think I just put a piece of Tim Holtz ephemera, an old butterfly thing. I love those cards of his. Papillons, French for butterfly, I believe. And then this is another one of her. It says, follow your heart. Look at that old-fashioned pocket knife, forget-me-not. Another tag of Rhonda's. That could go in there. Okay, the next page is another pen at the top for journaling on this page. Then this was an old, I took 1 or 2 pages from the book and cut them in half like that. Then I glued, this is an old DT&I Railroad time card. So that's original ephemera. And that goes to the next page too. And that made a pocket there by gluing that together and putting some trim on there. And then inside that pocket, I put a piece of Tim Holtz ephemera and an old tag that I had gotten somewhere. And it's not old, but it's a reproduction, but it's cool. It's this girl playing croquet. I thought that was really cool. So put that back in there. And then this is a bingo card, a vintage bingo card. That's old. And then I made that into a tuck space or pocket. And inside that, I put a recipe card that I had. And also, you can journal on that. Another piece of a field label. This was Tim Holtz ephemera. Oh, that went together, 2 pages. And again, I made one of those top-loading pockets up there. This time it's a top-loading pocket instead of a side-loading pocket. You can do both. But again, that's 2 pages again. And then I put that tag in there, Love and Cherish. Looks like 2 little brothers with little dunce hats on. And, oh yeah, there was something else in there. This is an old calendar, 1995 reproduction, but you can put this on your fridge. That's an older one. I must have got somewhere. But there's lots of space to put more ephemera in these pockets like these, if you wish to. Huh. Why that's not going back in there, I'll put it in later. Okay, well anyway, on the next page of that was a little post note card that you can flip up and you can journal on that. And then I left it open at the top for a pocket. And there's a little card with birds on it. And this is, again, this is reproduction. And this is another one of Tim Holtz's little people cutouts. And I use those a lot. You can buy those in packages at Hobby Lobby, or you can get them on Amazon. All right, the next page, I used a piece of the paper that had bingo on it and made that into a belly band. And then I had some real pretty old vintage looking craft paper. And then I found these cards that had a little watch on it. And this would probably be a nice journaling card. Has an old watch on it. The next page, again, is some more of that beautiful paper. And it had a postcard on it, so I just left that. I just thought that was gorgeous paper. The next one's a journaling spot with some glasses, old-fashioned glasses. And then this page, my friend Cindy Bullard, that I'm in the Milk Glass Society with, she sent me some cards because she bought one of my Halloween journals. And when she sent me the check for it, she had these beautiful cards in there. So I'm using one as a tuck space. I think it's advertising castor oil. And then I put an old recipe for Chico fudge in it. Must have got that from someplace, an older recipe card. And then this, again, here I've got one of these pages that I folded up one page and made a pocket there. Folded that over. And then I think I folded this over. I cut that, folded this over, and then that made this tuck space under here. So I put this little card thing. You could use a journal on that or just use it as a ephemera. And this is an, I think this might, no, I don't think that's original. I think that's another little printed card there. But I put some real lace on that. And this was from an old Sears and Roebuck catalog that they have reproduced. I love those. I use those a lot. And then the next page did the same thing. It made this, I did the pocket on this side of the page, and then I folded that page and did the very same thing, made that pocket over there. So you can see what's in there is, again, it made that pocket, and then the fold over made this tuck space under here. So this was, I just love to make these altered books. They're a lot of fun. So in that one, I love these, I find these little pictures of these brooms. Just loved them. And here is a card that says, it's not just chocolate, it's my life. So you can journal on that. I thought that was cute. And then this is a lovely one of Rhonda's cards, God Bless the USA, little girl from Tim Holtz cutouts. She's doing the Pledge to the Flag. I love that. And then in the bottom tuck was another original calling card, Beulah Wrestler. And then here is an old postcard from Canton, Ohio, and it's 1939. Yeah, original. Both of those are. Then another journaling page, except I put one of these little, it says, keep on trucking, keep on trucking. And it's got distributor, and then this was like a antiques, vintage flea markets. Flip that up, and that's kind of like a flip, but it's not a material one. It's not a fabric one, but it's a paper flip up. Here was some old note paper I had that says Picker Junker Antique Hunter. And so I put several of those in here on an old sheet of music. Then this one was 2 pages glued together, and I cut them this way and left them like that. So that makes a really neat effect. Put some lace on there. And in here I have put this again is reproduction, and this was a cutout from a magazine. To those who can dream, there is no such place as far away. That's so cute. Anyway, it's a number 2. This was some more construction or craft paper that was really cool. And then that went to the next page. And this was, again, from the old Sears and Roebuck catalog of the ladies' hats. I left a little bit of the book page in there. The next page is a pocket that I made out of a piece of card, something I had cut out of a book, and it said Hope Chest. I thought that'd make a cute little pocket. And then here is 1936 reproduction craft paper, and it looks like a ledger. And inside that is a journaling card that I made from a picture I cut out of a magazine. Somebody had already collaged that and made a picture of it. And then here is another magazine picture that somebody had done and collaged. It said notes on it. I made that into a journaling card. And this is an original Hallmark bookmark. And this is an older one, but I don't know again. 1947, I think it said on it. So that put that in there. Then this one here is I bought these, and they're like stationery. I bought several of these, and you just flip them up and down, and there's writing space there. So make a note. And then this was an old cutout that somebody had made a shadow box, and I thought that was cool, so I put that on there. And then this said scrapbook. And then here's another tag. Wonder. I didn't put a ribbon on that one. And then here's another one of my scrappy, or what are they called, pages that I did. And I made a tuck space there with this ticket that you can see. I started out with Ladies' Home Journal page, ripped this piece of paper out of a dictionary, stuck this little ticket in there and glued it on, put this little thing here. Then underneath here, I left things hang out. Tickets, time cards, and that made a scrappy. Or, is that what I call this? I think they're called scrappies. something like that. Raggedy, sorry, Raggedy. I'm all mixed up. And then that went to the next page, and you can see some of it hanging out here. This was some craft paper. It looks like music paper, but you can see that on the Raggedy, all this hanging out, and it makes it really look cool. This was a picture I cut out of a magazine and made it. It was a big picture frame, and I cut that out and used half of it as a tuck. Excuse me. I don't know who this old lady is, but it says she was born in Norway in 1876 and died in 1957. And this was a little note card that I found that could be sent to somebody. It was a lady and her daughter probably doing needlework. I thought that was so cute. That in there. Then this is 2 pages that I cut this way and glued together to make this little pocket that flips out this way. And inside that little pocket is an old original flash card, small one, and an original gift for your shower. That's so cute. That's an original little gift card. Put that in there. Next page is another page for journaling. These 2 pages came out of another old book, and it's a poem. Beware is the poem, and it shows a picture of this girl here that says beware. So it's a really cool poem, and it's really old. I like the way that looked in the book, so I put that in there. Then here's another one of my little notebooks on just a vintage soul. I have 2 or 3 sheets of that with some other paper, craft paper that looks like writing. Then this is more craft paper. Again, I put 2 pages together and glued it on the ends, covered them, and made this into this big side pocket that you can put more stuff in. This is an old postcard. Treat yourself to extra special. I don't know how old that is, but it's vintage. And then this was another one of the tags. It says strength on. He's got little wings on him there. And that goes in that pocket. And like I said, you can put, the person who gets this journal can put whatever they want in these pockets. Photographs or whatever. And then this is another, just a note. This is one of my stamps, journaling page. Now this was a page I found in a magazine. It looks like somebody had already collaged all that and took a picture of it. I just loved it. It had all kind of keys and feathers and teacups and stamps and this beautiful lady here. And so I glued on this little fabric pocket-like thing that opens up, and you can put stuff in there. So I just put an old antique flat key that I had in that little pocket there. So whoever gets this can have that little key and use it however they wish to use it. But you could put other things down in there. Here's another journaling page. All right, now this one was a page I cut out of a magazine that had all these old milk bottle tops that they used to insert in the milk bottles. Then I made this little belly band out of some burlap and put this is an original bottle top off of a milk bottle. And then put this in a little butter thing for Brookfield Butter advertisement. And then I found this again out of a magazine and made that into a journaling card. That goes down that belly band. This over here was a paper bag. And what's cool about these, they look like they have real lace on them. This is like a paper bag. And I collaged it a little bit. Left this as a little tuck. And put in this little notes thing. These 2 are not original. Another little advertising card that's a reproduction. And then put all this on there. And then inside this paper bag up here, I put in there. Ooh, this is an original old doctor's prescription. And this is 1932, I believe it is. And this is a real doctor from Durham, North Carolina, Dr. A.T. Smith. And that's so cool. I think I bought these online. Somebody advertised these. I think maybe it was on eBay. But there were a whole bunch of little doctors, real authentic prescriptions. And then this is one of the Tim Holtz head cutouts that you can put on anything you want. But I thought, I'll just add him in there and put him coming out of the bag. And then another Just a Note new stamp I got. And this made a journaling page. And this was a page, again, out of a magazine. Somebody had already put that together. And I cut it out. I thought, well, that looks so cool. And then I took these little tiny miniature playing cards and used a brad and have those as kind of like a little fun feature that you can use there. You could make it into a text spot if you wanted to, but I just kind of liked it as an embellishment. Then here's a journal page with another one of my stamps. See how that brad comes through there? And then this was another picture I cut up a magazine. It looked like a biscuit advertisement, but I just thought it was beautiful. And then here's memories. I'm at the end of the book. This is for you to put your memories in. And again, this was such a pretty piece of paper with the word memories, and it looks like a bunch of other little cards on this paper. And then I put this little piece of fabric or lace there, old lace. And then last but not least, on the back page of the book, I put one of those camera stamps, and this is a photo sleeve. So you can put your own photo in there. I did collage around that to make it look really old looking. And it says collect beautiful moments. And then this is another one of those envelopes I had in the front. Only if you turn it over, it's got this. And I left that open so that the person could put whatever they want in there, photo-wise or paper, whatever, letters, memorabilia of theirs if they want. And then that closes, and at the top is another card. She believes she could, so she did. And that's the end of my vintage, You Are So Vintage altered book. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.